Lights, camera, good. Look at this.
You know my name means arrow?
Yes?
SYANO.
SYANO means arrow.
Yes, it's a lot easier for me to
have direction.
have direction.
You like to have direction.
I know exactly I know exactly what I'm aiming for, and I can answer that question.
Did you know
What?
the likelihood of us being on this universe right now having this conversation is the same likelihood as you shooting an arrow up into space and it hitting a 2p coin at the edge of the universe?
Well, there you go. So I film you.
So you film me, yes. So I'm going to take the resident interview chair. Hello guys, so I'm here today with SYANO, who is the man behind the project, the dream, the revolution, which we are calling ThinkSit. So I met SYANO. He was the first philosophy, what would I call you, a tutor, a lecturer, I'm not sure, that I had at Bristol. And from the moment that he started talking, I knew like it was a good thing that I had met him. I felt very lucky. Even the way that he explained the exam process to me and the essay process was just so clear, concise and structured, and he explained to me in a way that I think is something everyone should kind of see, as philosophy is not just something for the classroom, but it really is a way of life. And ThinkSit is something that, ooh, we've got a ghost. The door's opening by itself.
Don't worry.
So ThinkSit is, it really is a platform to enable anyone to learn these skills no matter what you're doing. And it is the same way, you know, I like playing tennis because I know it's something I can do when I'm 80 years old. This is really a skill that you will be able to keep for the rest of your life. And the thing which I think makes it so special is that what it's bringing back into this age where we are literally manipulated by everything we see, like to a degree where, you know, I mean, you would have heard that the aisle shelves in supermarkets now are manipulated in such a way that the brands pay more because they know that if it's at your eye level, you're more likely to buy it. To like the advertisements we see literally just tapping into emotions that make us, literally our number one thing is we're scared of social ostracization, right? So these advertisements try and persuade you that if you buy their product, you'll be accepted, you'll be part of this group, whatever. And I mean, SYANO and ThinkSit have shown me at least that, you know, when you really examine these things, you examine questions like identity, like the economy, like sex and consent, you start to see, well, mass media and mental health as well, you start to see a much bigger picture and you start to get two sides of the coin. So with Brexit, for example, you get Brex out, Brex in, but then what ThinkSit allows you to do is see that those are two sides of one coin, and you get this third perspective and you get to think independently. And actually, I want SYANO to talk a bit more about his experience from growing up in one culture, coming to another culture and seeing the similarities and difference between the two, because that's really what started ThinkSit. And I think that that speaks volumes on humans, the ways in which humans maybe have advanced in some ways in the Western world and the way in which we're more primitive than we may even realize ourselves, and why something like ThinkSit is a school and a skill that should be used and shared by everyone. So here he is, SYANO, my cameraman, and now...
I'm just going to shut the door again.
Cool.
Well, that was a very good summary of what we're doing, and I'm just so edified to hear that you almost explained it almost better than I could. But I like what you said about civilization. Civilization is meant to enhance and to sort of push humanity to its highest level of achievement, perhaps. Maybe sometimes it doesn't do that. Maybe sometimes it actually takes us backwards. So if you think of mass information, if you look at algorithms, for instance, one of the things about the mass information age is that we are the most informed society in generations, perhaps, probably ever, and yet we are the least independent thinkers. Why? Because things like algorithms constantly confirm our biases. You know, they use our search history to give us what we want, which is the stuff we like to shop for, the type of news that we read, the type of films.
Does this explain cookies?
I don't understand.
Because I haven't got a clue about cookies, but they're everywhere. Algorithms.
Algorithms are basically the sort of technology that uses your history to give you to suggest what you want. Okay. And so by constantly suggesting the stuff that I already like, I'm sort of shut out from the rest of reality, how other people think, what they like, what they think about the world. So if you think about Brexit, for example, if you are, for example, if all you read is a left-wing newspaper, and someone with a right-wing view comes and talks to you, it's almost absurd to you that they would think differently, because as far as your world is concerned, people don't think that way. Well, actually, a lot of people do. We're just hardly ever given a chance to meet them.
And would you say also that, I think quite a good, I don't know if you'd agree, but maybe kind of a nice analogy is a football match, you know? Because you've got Arsenal, you've got Chelsea, and
Manchester United.
Okay, sure. Let's do Manchester United and Arsenal in this example. And, if an Arsenal player has grown up surrounded by nothing but Arsenal players their whole life, and a Manchester United player, the same story, you get this amazing, on some level, I want to call it patriotism, but I don't know if that's the right word, towards the team. And then you go to the match and there's this rivalry and you're going, da, 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 and, just like that. And it's kind of like, there's two things here. One is that the villain, the opposing team is necessary, right? Imagine if everyone supported one team, it would be so boring. Yeah. You need the opposition. But then the other thing is recognizing from the think-sit perspective that they are two sides of the same coin still, and the game is football, and the game requires opponents. It requires two teams on the pitch. It requires two sets of supporters. So if we forget that we're playing a game here, we forget that, both opposites are necessary, and the only way to really make an informed decision is to look at both sides and not just go, what, you support Manchester United? What are you doing? Then, you're never going to really learn. You forget you're in a game.
That's a brilliant analogy. So if I was to add to that story, someone who, for example, I have a few American friends, and they come over and they're like, so what's this football thing? I've heard so much about it, or soccer they call it.
Soccer.
And so how do I get into it? What team do I support? And imagine... So they can meet two people. They can meet someone who's a Man United player and someone who's a supporter, and one who's an Arsenal supporter, or Chelsea, just to get the contrast better. and you one team is very defensive, the other team is very attacking. So the Man United fan tells the American, hey, look, this is how football is played. You attack and you pass this way, and these are the sort of formations you use. This is what football is. But that's the Man United way.
Totally.
Then they go to the Chelsea fan and they say, no. This is football. In football, you have a defensive lineup and you wait to break on the counter-attack, etc., etc. Being a think citizen is, and you go to both of their matches and you say, hey, look at how committed we are to each other. Look at the songs that we sing, etc. Being a think citizen is like being the independent person who's trying to choose which brand of football they like best.
And I love the idea of the American there, because, maybe we're kind of aliens as well. Maybe the idea is that in the room the other day when we did that talk, I did acknowledge that most of us in there were, and I'm going to redefine this term because I don't mean it offensively at all, but we were kind of all nobodies. For one reason or another, we were in that room because we hadn't identified with one body of group. We've all got different stories. We're all somewhat hybrids, neither English nor Greek nor this nor that nor here nor there. And maybe that's the idea, is if you become a think-sit member, it's ironic that is a membership, but it's also kind of a nobody membership, and that the only requirement is that you're an independent thinker.
Yes.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Nobody is one way of characterizing it. The word I'd use is you're sort of removed from the dispute, and almost judging from on high. It's a liberating ability to look at what information is trying to do to you, rather than just receiving information passively.
Totally.
So, and then because you can do that, because you're independent, then you can make a judgment. I actually think football is better played this way, or it's better played that way. There's the good attributes I like from both. Is there a team that has both, etc., etc. Whereas in the mass information age, we are taught to be tribal. You're either Man United or you're Chelsea, and as soon as you put into one camp, sometimes through sheer pressure,
totally.
for reasons that you don't...
Or shame as well.
Or shame, exactly.
I think shame's big. With the Brexit thing, I know people who voted Brex out and now feel almost embarrassed about their decision, or feel embarrassed about the way that that even though it's what they wanted, they're unhappy that was the result that came through, because they feel a lot of people didn't know what they were voting for.
Yeah.
So they're embarrassed to say that they contributed towards it, you know?
Yes.
I think that's a huge thing, actually. Thinking about the Trump-Clinton vote as well, I remember knowing someone who voted for Trump and getting seriously bullied for it.
Yeah. So we're against that. We think what tribalism does is that it shoots the opponent down simply for expressing their view. How can you think that?
Totally.
You know, how can you think about Brexit? How can you think it's a bad thing, or how can you want to remain? You know, the Europeans are so blah 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 blah, and thinks it says no. If you're here to make a decision, you need to listen to everyone, all their grievances, all their facts, all their knowledge, and have a balanced view and make the decision for yourself. What we have in both camps is not people so much presenting with facts and arguments, but it is in them almost immediately pulling you to their side. Sometimes without even having argued, just saying, hey, these guys are unpatriotic, these guys are bigots or whatever. And before you even heard any arguments, you fall in one way or another.
Totally.
And that's where mistakes are made.
Totally. And history repeats itself. We see it time and time again, right? Okay, and then the last thing that pops into my head right now is this talk. You're giving a talk next Wednesday.
Yes.
Share. Why should people come? What is it about? What are you going to do? What's going to come out?
So Brexit is one example of how mass information misguides us into making mistakes. So this is more than just Brexit. Many of the students said, SYANO, we need more than just a solution to the news or what politicians say. We need mass information affects what I think about my body, what I think about sex, what I think about my identity, my hair, my teeth, what I think about happiness, what sort of relationship should I be, what sort of job should I have, you know, should I be aiming for the sort of lifestyle they have in Friends, you know, urban living where we sort of just, you know, meet together and do stuff,
awesome.
Whatever. We're given a definition of happiness and expectation.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, we can't meet it because what we're fed is entertainment. It's meant to be abnormal. That's what makes it entertaining. But somehow it informs our expectations.
Because it's just close enough to reality or something.
Well,
there's something about it.
It's got hints of reality that makes us think, well, why am I not like this? Why don't I look like that? Why don't I have that? And so that's where we started the identity course, the sex and consent course, the economy course, the well-being course, which is saying, hey, this is what the subject matter is, you know, identity, who are you? You know, identity is one of the best things we have, but it's also one of our biggest vulnerabilities.
Yeah,
know?
Beautiful.
We are used, you know, marketers and advertisers, people who use speeches, etc., use who we are and target who we are, certain demographics, to get us to spend money in a certain way, use our vote in a certain way, etc., etc. Same with people who sell products. You know, what on earth has that model got to do with the car that was advertised, for example, you know? And same thing with well-being. We want, one of the people who came from the well-being course said, after the well-being course, she stopped going straight to her phone after she woke up out of bed to look at social media. You know, we just basically tell people, hey, there's a lifestyle that feeds into us, that gets us out of this this world of false expectations, and to actually become independent human beings again.
Woo! Come on. Right, well, I think you've nailed it. Guys, we hope to see you there. It really is, I mean, it sells itself, to be honest. I don't need to say anything more. SYANO, spud that.
Thank you.
Thank you.